A 2,500-year-old teaching once said, "Salt is only salt until it dissolves into something greater. The moment it lets go, it becomes the taste of life itself." Have you ever wished things could just stay the way they are? Your job, the way things feel with your family right now, the place you found for yourself in life. When those things feel even a little easier, a little safer than before, we want to hold on. We want to keep them exactly as they are. When you hear that your role at work might be changing, when your child becomes independent faster than you expected, when you notice deep lines on your parent's face that weren't there before, and something inside you quietly tightens. That feeling of, oh, it's already different. Being afraid of change isn't weakness. It's actually a sign that you care about what you have. But when that fear builds up over time, something begins to harden inside us. We stop trying new things. We struggle to accept the changes happening in the people we love. And before we know it, time has moved on, and we feel like we've been left standing still. Today I'd like to share with you a small parable written over 2,500 years ago. It's not complicated, but I think something in you might feel just a little lighter by the end. There was once a monk who kept a single candle on his desk, the same candle night after night, because its familiar glow made him feel at home. One evening, a strong wind came through the window and blew it out, and in the darkness he finally noticed the stars he had never once looked up to see. The candle hadn't been keeping him warm, it had just been keeping him from looking further. The story I want to share with you today comes from a collection of Buddhist teachings called the 100 Parables Sutra. This text was compiled in India more than 1,500 years ago, not to give complicated lectures, but to offer simple, vivid stories that anyone could understand. Stories that make you laugh or suddenly stop and think. One of those stories goes like this. There was once a man, careful, tidy, someone who took good care of his things. One day, he came across a block of salt. When he used it in his cooking, the flavor was remarkable. The dish came alive. He was delighted, and then a thought came to him. If a little salt makes food this delicious, then eating salt on its own must be even better. So he reached into the block, took a fistful of salt, and put the whole thing in his mouth. Of course, the saltiness was overwhelming. He choked, his throat burned, he crumpled to the ground, face twisted. A neighbor who had been watching walked over, shaking their head with a gentle smile. "What are you doing? Salt only becomes something wonderful when it mixes with other ingredients. Did you really think eating salt alone would give you something good?" The man went quiet, and then slowly, he understood. "I was trying to keep the salt exactly as it was. I was so afraid of it changing, of it being used up, of it disappearing into something else, that I forgot what salt is actually for." This parable has been passed down through the centuries because it's so simple, and yet it holds something true. When the salt refused to change, it became painful. But when it dissolved into something else, it brought joy to everyone around it. Right now, which kind of salt are you? Are you sitting in the bowl preserving yourself, afraid of what you might become if you let go? Or are you already dissolving, quietly, without fanfare, into the soup of a life that is not entirely your own? A teacher I once heard speak said, the moment he stopped trying to remain himself was the moment he finally became useful to someone else. What this parable is pointing toward connects to one of the most foundational ideas in all of Buddhist teaching. It's a word you may have heard before, impermanence. It might sound abstract, but what it really means is simple. Everything changes. Flowers bloom and fall, rivers shift their course, people are born, grow old, and one day leave. This isn't something to fear or grieve, it's simply the true nature of things as Buddhism understands it. So why does change frighten us so deeply? Because we cling. Buddhism calls this attachment, the way we grip tightly to a particular thing, a particular moment, a particular version of how things should be. The man in the story clung to the salt. He wanted to preserve its goodness forever, exactly as it was, untouched. But that's not what salt is for. Its meaning only comes alive through change, and the same is true for us. When we cling to youth, aging becomes something to dread. When we cling to a relationship exactly as it once was, every small change feels like a loss. When we cling to our old way of doing things, there's no room for anything new to enter. Maybe it's not that we're afraid of change. Maybe it's that we haven't yet learned to trust it. Buddhism teaches that change is the source of suffering, and at the same time, it's the very possibility of relief. Because if everything changes, then our pain does too. The grief you're carrying right now will not always feel this heavy. The fear you hold will not always feel this close. Just as salt only reveals its true flavor when it dissolves into something greater, perhaps we too only become fully ourselves when we stop holding so tightly and let life move through us. Change isn't loss. It's the doorway into living more deeply. A seed buried in darkness doesn't mourn the soil pressing in around it. It simply grows, and when the flower finally opens, no one grieves the seed that was left behind. So, what does it actually look like to let this teaching into everyday life? Let's start with work. Most of us have felt that resistance. I've done it this way for years, and I don't want to change. Learning a new system feels exhausting. The old way felt right, felt like yours. That's not laziness, that's pride in what you've built. But when that pride hardens into stubbornness, we start to feel out of step with everything around us, and the weight of that grows. Think back to the salt. Everything you've learned, everything you've earned through experience, it has real value. But that value doesn't diminish when you mix it with something new. It deepens. Changing doesn't mean erasing who you've been. It means carrying who you've been into the next chapter. Now let's think about the people we love. Children grow up. They stop sharing everything. They start doing things on their own. And so many parents feel that shift as a kind of quiet heartbreak, as if something warm has moved just out of reach. But what if that distance isn't distance at all? What if it's growth, theirs, and maybe yours too? Whether we read a change as loss or as growth, that single shift in perspective can make the weight of it feel entirely different. And then there's aging, our own. When your body no longer moves the way it used to, when things that once came easily now take effort. That's a real and tender kind of grief. But there are things you can only see from here, from this place you've reached by living. A younger version of you could never have seen them. Here's one small thing to try, starting today. The next time something shifts and your first instinct is to grieve it, pause for just a moment and ask yourself quietly, what might this be becoming? You don't need an answer right away. Just the question is enough. That small pause is where change stops feeling like something happening to you and starts feeling like something you can move through. Before we close, I want to leave you with one thing. Accepting change doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean going limp and letting life carry you wherever it will. When salt dissolves into a dish, you can no longer see it, but it hasn't disappeared. It's there, present in every bite, woven into the warmth of the meal, quietly nourishing everyone at the table. You are the same, even as the waves of change move through you, even as your shape shifts and your story turns in directions you didn't plan, you are still here, still you, living fully, even now. You don't have to be afraid of changing, and please don't be hard on yourself for the ways you've already changed. To you, for staying with this until the end, thank you. Sincerely. The days of living through change can feel uncertain, sometimes lonely, but every shift you've moved through, every loss you've sat with, every unexpected turn, all of it is becoming part of you, like ingredients finding their way into the same pot, slowly, patiently, becoming something whole. Your experiences, your pain, your joy, all of it mixed together has made you who you are today. Please be gentle with that person, and when a tree is struck by wind, it doesn't curse the storm. It simply bends, and in the bending, finds how deep its roots go.